Okay, so yes, Ms. Sadler, yes. We have the next ambassador. Yay, celebration. Let me share my screen. We have now Ms. Jasmine Sadler, and Christy or Ali, if you can make her a co-host so she can share her screen. So Ms. Sadler, she was trained as a rocket scientist and ballerina. She lives her life on purpose through her company, the STEAM Collaborative, which focuses on STEM from an artistic perspective. Jasmine delivers her inspirational testimony internationally in camps, workshops, panels, and speaking engagements. Recently, she launched Jazz Maven, which focuses on connecting the right people for inclusive and diverse experiences. Please drop a welcome in the chat for our special guest, Jasmine Sadler. And if you go to our book club, the PLC book club, you are going to find a link to get Ms. Sadler's book called Balancing Your Own Center of Gravity. And that book is signed by her. So thank you so much. And I'm going to stop sharing because I want to see all of you. Hi, Ms. Sadler.
Hello, everyone. I'm still trying to get access to share as a host, I believe.
Louisa, can you make her the host?
Yes, you have access.
Perfect. All right, everything should be good. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here. And thank you for all of the work that you all are doing. First of all, I mean, everything that we do as educators is a tough thing every single time, but thank you all for staying the course and still being there. My name is Jasmine Sadler, and I'm a STEAM education entrepreneur, but I'm also a trained ballerina, an aerospace engineer, a business leader, and an activist, especially for women, girls, and people of color. So if you could drop in the chat a couple of things about what you think diversity looks like. This is a picture of me at work as a test engineer a few years ago. And so let's see, hopefully I won't be covering up the screen too much. So drop in the chat, like, what does diversity look like to you, or anything that's standing out in this photo to you? It was a very interesting experience for me, to say the least. So this is my team of mostly technical quality test technicians. And I'm one of the few engineers in this picture. I'm the only woman in this picture. People from many backgrounds and experiences, absolutely. Yeah, so it is a fairly diverse team because we all have different life experiences that we bring. And that's what I'll talk about a little bit more here. So kind of my journey started off with me as a ballerina, as a dancer. I'm trained in ballet, so we had exams and tests and lots of different things in ballet. But then from there, I started being a math tutor, I say in about 8th grade, when my teacher was teaching a little differently than I was understanding it, but we were getting the same answer. So I would talk to my classmates in the middle of class, which I know none of you like, but I was talking to some of my classmates in the middle of class, really tutoring them on some of the ways that I was learning differently. And based on that, and along with the space shuttle disaster that happened when I was in high school, I decided to be an aerospace engineer. Love math, love science, and love solving problems. So I studied aerospace engineering at University of Michigan. And while I was there for 4 years in engineering, I studied abroad in Hong Kong. So I was living there for 5 months, taking classes to finish my math minor and traveling all around Southeast Asia. I worked mostly in turning air into energy. So aircraft engines, oil and gas turbines, big wind turbines, things like that. And so I worked as a quality engineer towards the end of my engineering stint, which was 10 years. And while I was still an engineer full-time, I went to school and got my MBA because I wanted to start my own business because I knew I didn't want to be an engineer working as an engineer for 30 years. But that was all I had known up to that time. So I think one of the questions is about challenges and failure. And so that was a time where, I was thinking like, I spent all of this time, all of my short life at the time studying engineering, studying the wrong thing for me because now I'm working as an engineer and I'm not loving it. And so then I had to decide, okay, well, what else would I do? And I don't want to go back to school again for a whole nother major for 4 years and then realize that was the wrong thing as well. So I ended up saying I wanted to start my own business and then figured out like, what am I already doing for free? And at the time it was math tutoring. I was tutoring a deacon at my church who was 50 years old but wanted to be an electrical engineer and he couldn't pass pre-calc. So I was tutoring him at the community college in pre-calc. So things like that. So I started my company as a math tutoring company initially and went to school in the evenings for 2 years and got my MBA to learn more about innovation and entrepreneurship. But then through my MBA program, I grew my business network, including my professors. My business professors were probably the biggest asset there, where they were connected in the ecosystem of business and education and connected me with another university who was doing a social innovation challenge. And so I applied for that. I got accepted and I ended up doing a STEAM Leader Summit out of that. So my proposal was initially to do a STEAM camp for kids, but instead of me doing another STEAM camp for about 30 kids, I thought it would be better for me to bring about 30 STEAM leaders together instead. And so if each of these 30 leaders has 30 students in their program, now I'm impacting 900 kids, 30 times 30, doing some math there. And so that's what I decided to do. And now I've grown into different business networks, but one asset has been a co-working space, other competitions, business accelerators, incubators, things like that. And now I'm in school for my doctorate in education with the ultimate goal to own and run a STEAM university. And so the big thing about all of this is the diversity that I bring, but it's about my experiences. And somebody mentioned it on the last slide with the picture, visually, it may be a lack of diversity, or it may be racial diversity or age diversity or things like that. But, my diversity comes through my experiences that I've had along with all of you all. And that's exactly what Out Teach is trying to represent, that it's your personal life that you have to bring outside of the classroom with what you do and bring it all together. And that's a full education experience. And so now this is a picture of the first STEAM Leader Summit that I did, and it looks a little different than the picture of me at work. And so this is my network of STEAM leaders who some of them I met for the first time at the event that I did. And so that, goes to show like when you're doing things that are in your passion and things that you're supposed to be doing, people attract to that thing. And so you just have to start at some point.
That's a great point, Ms. Sadler. Sorry to interrupt you. That if you are in your passion, you attract the same people, right? So that's why we are here. We're all passionate about STEM, about teaching outdoors, about creativity. So that's why we kept going throughout the school year. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's great. And so now the STEAM Collaborative, the mission is to exponentially increase equity in education. And so one way to do that is by growing the STEM pipeline of the students that are actually getting into STEM. So access to forming a STEM identity, like I am a scientist, I am a technologist, I am an engineer, I am a mathematician. But then I also do the STEAM Leader Summit, where I help grow other small businesses. So other STEAM leaders, other after school programs or teachers who do it as a side passion project. So growing their businesses. And this year in particular, it's been a huge uptick in being an operations project manager. And so this is exactly kind of what I did as my job as a quality engineer and kind of industrial engineer, was about putting together standard operating procedures and manuals of like how their after school programs are functioning. So then you can apply to more grants. So they're actually writing me into their grants to manage their programs for them, especially because a lot of them, again, are, you know, my STEM professionals who work full-time as engineers still. And so now that their nonprofits are taking off, they haven't left their corporate jobs yet. So now they hire me to kind of manage their programs while they're not there. And so they know that I'll bring the technical experience, I can relate to the students that they have there, and that it'll get handled how it's supposed to get handled. So that's what I've been doing now, mostly this year, for nonprofit informal education leaders. And so again, the ultimate goal is to own and run and create this STEAM university that develops leaders. And so combining STEAM education with cultural competence, professional development, and operational excellence. So making sure that everything that we want to get done in the classroom, some of the things Yamile was talking about, you know, you fear that you're not doing the best job you can. And so that's why people hire me, to make sure you're doing the best job you can, that the ideas that are in your head are actually happening in real life. And so that's what I do every day. And so again, pursuing my doctorate in education. And right now my dissertation title is around comparing the origins of innovative universities across an era. So comparing some origin stories of HBCUs, historically Black colleges and universities, and then even some that have been created within the past 10 years, more like virtual universities and things like that. And so with that, I'll answer some of the other questions. Feel free to type more questions in the chat. I'd be happy to answer those. Here's my socials. And then again, Louisa shared my book link, but here's another link to it there. And then I don't know if you all have seen all the orange statues and all the things that we've done, but that's part of the If Then collection. So being If Then ambassadors, with, you know, if she can see it, then she can be it. For me, growing up, I didn't know any other aerospace engineer. And I think that ties into one of these questions, that I never knew an aerospace engineer, especially a Black woman aerospace engineer. And so I had to imagine what that person would look like. You know, when times are getting tough for me in aerospace engineering, I'm like, somebody has had to graduated this before. I can't be the first, but I don't know who was, but I can't be. And so then I'm just pushing through, like picturing some person, but then now I can actually be that person that students are picturing, that children are picturing. And so that makes me really excited. And then that was one failure, again, turning my career from everything in my life was aerospace engineering to now it's more education and business, that, you know, that's really what I was supposed to do all along. I was supposed to do engineering, not to become an engineer for the rest of my life, but to show that anybody can do it. Like if I can do it, anybody can do it, and I can help you through it in a different way as well. And so for me, a lot of the engineering concepts, the physics concepts and calculus concepts that we were learning, I had to relate to my everyday life. And so the way I did it was the way that I fly through the air as a dancer is the way a plane flies through the air. The drag that happens, the friction that happens, the gravity that holds you down, spinning in a circle with your arms here or here, that increases your angular velocity. So different things like that is how I learned engineering, was from my dance experience. And so, you know, at the time, I kind of counted it as a failure. Like, man, I'm not going to be an engineer anymore. But the paper on my wall still says that I'm an engineer. And I still actually work as an engineer every day. I'm solving problems just in a different way now. I'm solving them around education in a different way. And so I'm still an engineer through and through. I'm still a nerd and a geek and all of those good things too. And so I haven't left that, but that was one thing that, you know, I counted as a failure at the time, but I can impact so many more children. I can impact getting more diversity and representation in engineering more in this way than I could just being an engineer at work every day. And especially not being as satisfied, not being as happy, not having as much freedom and joy that my life now has. So I don't know, how are we doing on time?
We have time, Ms.
Okay.
Sadler.
We
Yes,
we
thank you.
started
thank you.
early, so
Yeah, no, that's
Go ahead,
great.
start.
We needed to hear this message about you can see it, you can be it, your passion, following your passion, and have that energy and joy in your work, and thinking about diversity and impact for your students and your community. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so another question on here is, what would I do differently if I could go back in time? One thing, I guess it's a kind of double answer. One thing is that I would have learned business earlier in life, and entrepreneurship. Yeah, I think I'll stop sharing so you all can see me now. Yeah, I would have learned business and entrepreneurship much earlier in life. That was an option, because growing up, the whole time it's go to school, go to a university. If you want to do engineering, you're good at math and science, be an engineer, go to university to do that, and then get a good job doing that, but so I did all of that and still wasn't happy about it. So yeah, that was one thing that I would have liked to learn earlier, was that entrepreneurship and owning your own business is a viable career, and that where you can be happy doing what you love to do. But I also would have been an engineer. I think I probably would have done some of that same that path, but having that knowledge early on, I could have been thinking about an engineering company in my engineering classes, and different things like that. And so that would be one thing that I'd encourage all of you to do as well, that, traditional university is not the way for everybody. That's why I'm creating one. And that, traditional careers and working for huge companies is not for everyone. So we need these students to create these as well. So yeah, I think I hit everything. If y'all have any more questions, I'd love to hear about them. Which has been more valuable in my career? I didn't explicitly say that. My education or my experience? Oh, I love both. I love the experiences that I've had, and I love education. I love learning, which is why I'm in school again. I'll probably go back to school again after I finish my doctorate. I love learning, which is probably also the reason that I'm creating a university, because I've been learning concepts differently, I think, my whole life, different than what's being taught in schools, which is why I function a lot outside of the school system and outside of the classroom. And that's where I think I've learned more, even growing up, that the sports that I was in, the things that I love to do. My first sport was ice skating, and so it's just like, different things that add to me as a person, again, make me a diverse person, have added to me planning out my career path in this way. And so, but education has been some very important milestones in that path as well. So, so yeah, I think bringing it all together, if I had to choose, I would say what's been more valuable, my experience, especially in my engineering career. What it's really in my engineering career is really about having the engineering degree, and then you don't really use those things that you learn in your engineering degree. I didn't use calculus at all over 10 years, and so, classes, I see everybody lighting up with that. but you have to pass it through traditional high school, you have to pass it, and then in traditional colleges and universities, you have to pass it, but you don't have to learn it. And so that's where I've been trying to find this middle space, especially as a math tutor, that I'm going to teach you enough to pass these tests because that's what you have to do right now. But in the real world, this is how this will be applied. And so bringing those both together, like how Out Teach, promotes all the time, it's just bringing those both together, that you have to, society says, and, other things say, the system that we're in says that, a degree is a significant thing. And in a lot of areas it is. But, get through that. Calculus may not be as significant to your career trajectory. And so those are, this is when you would use calculus and how you would use it, but you need to pass this class as well. You don't protest in the middle of the class. Pass the test, pass the class, and then you can protest after that. So, any other questions?
Thank you. There is a question in the chat. Can you
more
speak more to having cordage?
to
Yeah.
operate outside the system or society standards?
Great question. Thank you.
The biggest part is being myself. That understanding who I am, and that like you all saw that first picture of me at work, that I was making history and protesting every single day I went to work, but I was also sacrificing some things by doing that. And so I felt like I put on a mask every day to go to work. And literally I kind of had to, because in that test cell, I had to wear steel toe shoes, safety glasses, earplugs, sometimes a bump cap, different things that I had to like put on a full costume. I had to wear pants, and I don't wear pants often, and I like dresses and I like to wear heels, and I like to wear flip-flops. And so, just like I had to put on a mask, and then I could finally dress how I wanted to dress on Saturdays and Sundays, and so, yes, PPE. Yes, having that personal protective equipment is important, because I still have all of my limbs, and so all of that is important and completely justified, absolutely justified for safety reasons in that space. And so at one point I was considering creating a high heel steel toe boot line, with some wedges that were still safe enough where your foot is on the ground, different things. But, but ideas like that don't come up unless we're in those spaces for them to come up. And so that's what I had to learn, was like, being the only one in that space, my ideas are going to be different because I think differently about things. And so, yeah, so having to operate, outside the system, but still be within the system. I'm a Christian, so, we are of this world, we're in this world, but not of this world. It was kind of that same kind of thought where, yes, money is important in this system, but how you use money, how you spend money, how you save money, because money is really, if you want to get super nerdy and STEM about it, money is just a bunch of ones and zeros. It's all like binary numbers in a computer. You're getting sent electric paychecks money, and then you're distributing out to pay your cable bill electric money, and so all of this is all just a bunch of ones and zeros in a computer. And so, that's where it comes in, where, knowing your worth in spaces where, for me as an entrepreneur, now I'm like, okay, yes, it's a bunch of ones and zeros, but since it doesn't mean that much to me, pay me more. Just pay me more then, it's not that big of a deal, and so that's, how I think about the system, financial system, but then especially the education system, where being an in-school teacher, you have to be very concerned about the standards that you have to teach from the school district perspective and the curriculum. And so it's sometimes detrimental to have somebody like me, or some might say society or the system would say, it's detrimental to have somebody like me come in and talk to your students, because we have to teach them Common Core math today, and so, that doesn't get fun. So that's why some teachers would, still rebel against the system and have someone like me come in, but then also, okay, forget all of this. I'm just going to create my own program. We'll do it after school, we'll do it during school, we'll do it during lunchtime, different ways that you can still do your passion, do exactly what you're supposed to do, still function within the system while not being ruled by the system. But, what type of research am I doing for my dissertation? It'll be a qualitative research study where the main thing is to bring forward the voices of underrepresented people in STEM. And so I have to actually interview them and use quotations, to bring their voice into my research. And that's really important to me. Even though I love quantitative research, my class actually right now is quantitative research, and I'm leading some of the lectures in my doctoral class because my classmates aren't understanding statistics very well. So I'm like, well, can I just do something? And my professor's like, okay, yeah, next week, just do a visual. And because I'm like, visual learners aren't understanding pointing at slides on a screen. So, different things like that. So, but I love quantitative research, but I will be doing qualitative research ultimately. But yeah, I think that is it for now.
Yeah.
Feel free
I
to
have a
connect with
question.
me outside of here. I think I have my LinkedIn.
Yes, Miss Anderson, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
You talk about being yourself, being me. What advice would you have for someone who's not yet comfortable with stepping out of the box or making sacrifices to build up to their fullest potential?
Yeah, it gets tough. I think, it all starts with identity and just knowing yourself. And so know the things you like, know the things that you're doing, even as you maybe sometimes are doing things you hate doing. Like at one point I was hating going to work every day. And, in my car, like, I gotta go back in here again, and so, but at the time I wasn't about to quit, and so, still transitioning into all of that. And so part of it was know what you really enjoy, know what you love, know what you hate. Understand that both of those things your body reacts to similarly because it's both, very exciting things in, two different ways. But and so then just understand, like, these are things that I like, these are things that I hate. Why do I keep doing the things that I hate? How can I do more of the things I love? And then some of those that you just gotta transition out of. I mean, I had a T chart that had L and W, losses and wins. And so I'm like, I need to do more things every day where I can add a tally mark in the wins column than in the loss column. And so this will actually be in my second book. But,
Oh, great. Okay. You need to share that with us at the link. Yeah.
yeah. And then, I mean, even more extreme for what'll be in the book is about like things that I like versus things that I want. And so I like, a paycheck, a steady paycheck. I like, different things, being able to interact with people in this way, but I want, joy. I want happiness. I want to be able to do things like this because I'm in California, and so it's 3:20 right now for me. And so traditionally, I would be at work right now and potentially sneaking off in the bathroom to do something like this, while I'm at work. And so, but now I can just do things like this because, this is how I love to spend my time. So, yeah, figure out what you like, figure out what you want, figure out those losses, figure out those wins, and, really try to have more things in the wins column than in the loss column every day.
Great answer. And I'm curious about something that you mentioned, Ms. Sadler, that maybe it's the ballerina in you. When you said connect with your body, how does it feel when you do certain things? Maybe it's coming from the ballerina, that training that you need to connect to dance, to be able to dance and express yourself. Sometimes we tend to be always in our heads, and our students the same way, right? And we forget to connect, to see, to check within us. Yes, this does it feel right? It gives me joy, pleasure. So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. And another added bonus tip is to rest. And I know for me, for a long time, that was not the case. I was working full time, in school full time in the evenings, and then was trying to start my company. And that hurt me a lot, like physically. I started physically feeling the symptoms of that. And so now I put myself on bed rest intentionally, preemptively, and that's a engineering concept, like preventative maintenance. Make sure before you start, failing, before your body starts failing, that you are preventing something. And so I intentionally, some days I'm like, I will not get out of this bed until I absolutely have to. And so, just different things like that that have really helped me with self-care and resting. In a different way.
Yeah, thank you. We love your energy. I'm speaking for everybody here, but I think we love your energy. We can feel that passion in you. I hope we can be in one room all together, maybe in the university. Right? Yeah, maybe we will the first students there, the cohort. Thank you so much.
That's great. And so at this point, the university is actually planned for adults. And so, the group of people that I had for the STEAM Leader Summit. And so it's for people like us who are really out here doing the work, but, need some encouragement, need to figure out your identity, need to figure out how to connect some of these concepts to what we're doing in the classroom. And so everything that we're already doing, that Out Teach already does, is exactly what the university is promoting. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. We have your social media handle, so we can follow you now. We have the link to your book, your name, your smile. We're taking all that. And remember, understanding who you are, and if you can see it, you can be it. So I'm taking that with me this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. And I see a lot of thank you notes in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for your time, Ms. Sadler, and all the best for you.